Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. I hope you're having a fantastic day. In today's episode of the things you missed in Elden Ring, we're going to be covering CAELID North. Super quick disclaimer, we're going to be missing out the Divine Tower of CAELID because that is a monster and this video is already massive, so we'll cover that in a separate video. There's also one cave right at the end that I'll only briefly touch on because we'll be covering that in full as part of Sorceress Sellen's questline, which will be coming up very, very soon. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, I join you now at the Bestial Sanctum, and the first thing we're going to do for this video is walk outside and attempt to defeat the Black Blade Kindred. Holy crap, this guy is a son of a bitch. I go in fairly unprepared the first time and get my ass whooped. For the second round, we're going to summon the Mausoleum soldiers and get them to help us out just a little bit, and with them taking some of the aggro and tanking some of the damage, we've managed to take him down, and we're rewarded with 88,000 runes, along with the Gargoyle's Black Blade and the Gargoyle's Black Halberd. So now that he's dead, let's get into the second part. The next thing we're going to do is run all the way down the mountain. You can ignore all the enemies. I'll run past a tree with a golden seed on it. I grabbed that earlier right at the start of the game, but you can get that as you go down. And then when you get to the bottom here, make sure you grab this Site of Grace as a checkpoint because we're now going to be fighting a massive dragon. Definitely the safest way to take this guy out is a ranged weapon and on horseback. And you are safe from basically all of his attacks if you use this strategy. Just the fight will take a little bit longer. And I adore the fact that this guy flies around and uses all the terrain. He is all over the place. He doesn't just stick to the bridge, and it really adds to the immensity of some of the bosses in this game. The fact that you're fighting throughout the whole world, not just this little boss arena. It is a very, very cool fight. And once you've taken him out, you'll get 80,000 runes and a dragon heart. So now I'm going to rest at the Site of Grace, and I'll meet you back there for the next tip. From this Grace site, head west, and nestled in these few ruins here, you'll find a particularly tanky scarab. When you take him down, you'll get a Somber Smithing Stone 9. One of the only few in the game, and almost as rare as the Somber Ancient Dragon Smithing Stones, so definitely worth grabbing whilst you're here. Now we'll head back to the Site of Grace and run along the bridge where we just killed the massive flying dragon. Keep heading down the mountain, and in no time at all, you'll find a Putrid Avatar. Once you take him out, you'll get another 90,000 runes, along with the Opaline Hard tier and the Stone Barb Cracked tier. Now swing behind this tree and jump up the Spirit Spring, and you can head towards Fort Faroth and grab this Site of Grace, ready for the next tip. Now we'll head into Fort Faroth and start exploring. Very quick disclaimer, you can get the Dectus Medallion right half in here, which we grabbed way earlier in the playthrough because you need that to progress the main quest. So that's the one item in here we won't be grabbing. As you go in, there will be a ton of giant bats and chanting winged dames, which are the human head bats that have an insane amount of health and deal an even more ridiculous amount of damage. So after no time at all, I'm gonna die to the most insane poison buildup I've ever seen in my life. Now we'll go in and be a little bit more careful this time as we're clearing the room, and once they're all dead, you can head up to the top of the ladder and drop down onto the roof. There are seemingly no enemies here, but a bunch of spectral knights will spawn in, so I'm going to spend some time running around the area clearing them all up, and once they're all dead, we can drop down the hole in the roof here, deal with some rats, and get ourselves a golden rune 12. I now fumble around the fort for quite some time trying to figure out where the most important item in this area is, because I know for a fact that somewhere in here is Radagon's Soul Seal, which is the upgrade to Radagon's Scar Seal. So I'll be going up and down some ladders, fumbling around, trying to figure out what I'm doing. Actually, you want to still be where you just killed them few rats, and you'll see at the end of the platform here, you can jump over into a connecting room. In here, you'll be ambushed by a monstrous rat, and once you take out him and the little baby giant rat, you can then hop down this ladder, and round the corner in this room is Radagon's Soul Seal, which will increase all of your physical / strength based attributes by +5, but increase your damage taken by quite a lot. We're done in Fort Faroth now, so I'll meet you back outside for the next part. As I'm running to the next area, I'm just going to quickly address why the giant immobile dragon isn't currently in front of me at the Fort Faroth Site of Grace. She is a great rune farm early on in the game, so off camera I beelined straight here right at the start of the game with this character to grab myself a few extra runes to make the start of the game a little bit easier. So that's why she's not here, along with her 5 baby dragons. There are also a few lesser dragons in this area, such as the one you see me killing here, but they respawn, they give you a small small amount of runes, they're not worth killing unless you need to kill them to get somewhere. So as we're running towards the map for this area, you'll see 2 dragons in the lake. I'm going to take them out so we have access to that epic item in the middle of the lake that you can see here. As I say, they respawn, they give you a tiny amount of runes. They're really not worth killing. Honestly, I'd actually advise just getting on your horse and running up to the loot and grabbing it, especially because you're about to see in a second, it's 1 gravel stone. What is the actual point? Now we can swing round and grab the map, and now that we've got the map for the area, I'll meet you back here for the next tip. For this next part, we're going to make our way to the northwest corner where we'll find a merchant and a boss. On the way there, you can take out this scarab for a Somber Smithing Stone 8. And this is where we'll see the Divine Tower of CAELID, which, as I mentioned, we'll be revisiting in another video. I'm going to take out the dogs on the way there, but you don't need to because they will respawn. Whilst you're at this merchant, buy the Beast Repellent Torch. It is absolutely fantastic. Whilst it's being wielded in either hand, and it even works if you're two-handing your other weapon. As long as you have it in your hand, even if you're two-handing your sword, for instance, this will still work. Certain creatures will not attack you. As far as I'm aware, the affected creatures are wolves, dogs, CAELID dogs that don't have red glowing eyes, boars, rams, bears, but not rune bears, rats, giant rats, basilisks, and crystal snails. If you are spotted by any of these creatures, they will stay focused on you as if they're ready to attack, but they won't attack and they will keep their distance. If you attack them, or if you get too close and stay there for too long, they will eventually attack, but it's a great way to keep a lot of these beasts at bay. This torch is also fairly effective against basilisks. However, I don't know if it's a glitch or a bug, but sometimes they will still attack you. At least initially, they'll use a Deathblight attack, then finally they will stop attacking. Once you're done at the merchant, rest until nighttime and be prepared for the most difficult bell-bearing hunter you're ever gonna face in your life. Until the DLC. He's even more powerful than Elema of the Briar. The only saving grace is you have a big arena to fight him in, but then you can also aggro the giant dogs. When you finally take him down, you'll get the Gravity Stone Peddler's Bell Bearing and a ton of runes. Now we're done here, rest up, and I'll meet you back here for the next part. For the next section, make sure you've gone and completed Shifra River. Link to that will be down in the description along with the rest of the Things You Missed playlist, because you will need to have gone up the deep Shifra well to have access to this site of grace. From here, we're going to beeline it past all these explodey statues and to the first great bow wielding giant. Once you've taken him out, you can loot the spiked palisade shield. And then you can thank Ninja PZXR for following and reminding everyone else to head over to Twitch and follow you over there as well at twitch.tv/Domtastic Gaming. Thank you, Ninja. Now sprint towards the other giant and take him out as well, and you'll be faced with the great, what's his name? The giant jar, great giant champion jar. I'm gonna Google it. What's his actual official name? The Great Jar. It's just the Great Jar apparently, and he will then grant you the ability to challenge his 3 champions. As you see here during my first failed attempt, it is possible to use this tree to cheese them into falling off the edge of the cliff, but the first one doesn't go very well and I just have to fight him normally, and then the second one I managed to kill us both at the same time. So I don't know if it's been patched into them not falling off as easily as they did before, but we're going to sprint back, take out the giants, and try that again. And this time, I'm just going to fight them all the old-fashioned way. Luckily, with lots and lots of nebula, it goes pretty well. And when you take them all out, you'll be rewarded with the Great Jar's Arsenal, which vastly raises your maximum equipment load. Absolutely incredible if you want to wear big tanky armor, but you're not going for a real endurance heavy build. Once you're done here, I'll meet you back at the isolated merchant shack and we'll go on to the next part. The first minute or so of this next segment is just me grabbing a few sites of grace, so I'll show you where they are along the way. I've marked them on the map here, but here is the first one just to the southeast, and then we're going to run all the way to the northeast, heading towards the Minor Erd Tree, running past the dragons in the lake, and then running past another dragon a bit further up the road, and eventually you'll come to the other site of grace that we're going to ignite and rest at just here. Now, once you get to this Minor Erd Tree, this is where we defeated the Putrid Avatar earlier, and it's going to take me a little while to find it, but I'm looking for the artist in the Redmane painting, and eventually I do realise it's actually below us, and we need to do a very, very precarious few leaps of faith down the side of the cliffs. So once I've found it, try and follow my movements precisely, because it's very easy to mess this up and die. So staying on Torrent the whole way down, we're going to drop down onto this first tree branch that's attached to the side of the cliff. Now jump on the next one that's jutting out, and then onto the next one just here. Now you can hop over onto the broken stone structures, even further down onto the branch that's just above the floor, and then you can safely hop onto the ground. From here you will see the artist and get the Ash of War Rain of Arrows. There is now the most powerful stone golem in the entire game, and this guy absolutely wrecks my shit. You can go and grab a rune arc where he was laying, and then you can die. I'm going to attempt to beat him off camera, and if I do manage to do it, I'll start recording at the start of the next tip and show you what your reward is. And that was not worth it. He drops no items. Nothing cool happens except you get 5,700 runes. My advice is grab the Ash of War from the artist, grab the rune arc if you want, and then get the hell out. Now I'm going to teleport back to the Dragonbarrow Fork, and if you follow me under the mountain here, you'll see a bear just outside, and then the entrance to Dragonbarrow Cave. In here is the most powerful rune bear in the game. This thing has a stupid amount of health and is totally not worth killing, so my advice is just run past him. You can kill him if you want, so this area is a little less dangerous, and then you can go and grab the bits of loot in here. Through into the next room is a load of flowers and animals along with the bull goat's talisman. And then after a lot of fumbling around, to get to the next area of the cave, you want to go back to the room where you beat the rune bear, and off in this alcove you can actually drop down. Deal with the wolves, including the alpha. Be very careful of the alpha in the next area because he packs a punch. Then you can drop down even further still, and you'll be in the boss room, where you will fight 2 beastmen of Faroth. When I came here the first time, I managed to cheese this and kill the throwing knife one without aggroing the greatsword, but I'm guessing they patched that because they both attack me at the same time. So with the help of the Mausoleum soldiers, we're going to wipe the floor with them and then be rewarded with 65,000 runes and the Flame Drake Talisman +2. So a decent reward. And with that, we can return to the entrance and move on to the next section. Back outside the cave, keep running up the underpass here, and eventually when you get to the top of the road, you can light the Sight of Grace for Lenne's Rise. I don't know if it's pronounced Lenne, but that's what I'm saying. Now you can rest until nightfall, and right in front of you will be a Knight's Cavalry. I've heard there's a few ways to cheese him, one including running him through loads of poison spike traps, and then he will just die to poison, but that didn't work for me, and again, I've heard if you stand on a certain branch, he'll just run himself off the edge of the bridge. But again, I think they've been patched out, because no matter how many times I tried, that did not work for me. So we'll fight him fair and square, and when he dies we'll get 42,000 runes and the Ash of War Bloodhound Step. Now that he's dead, we'll go back and explore Lenne's Rise. This is probably the easiest and most straightforward tower in the game. Round the back is a spirit spring, jump on top of this roof, dismount, and then you can just slide down the roof here onto the balcony. Head up to the top as you always do with these towers, and you'll find a memory stone. Now that you've done that, I'll show you 2 more things in this area that you can grab whilst you're here. Jump up the spirit spring and you've got a load of tombs with a load of runes. And positioning myself at the edge of the cliff here, just above the underpass, you'll see a scarab. Take him out and you'll get the Bestial Constitution spell. We're done here now, so we're going to go back to the Bestial Sanctum all the way in the northeast corner of CAELID for the next tip. Now that we're back at the Bestial Sanctum, head outside and swing around the back where I am, and you can start dropping down a series of branches. Jump onto the top of this spire, and once you're finally safely on the ground, you can start very carefully dropping onto the platforms around this building. Make sure you use all of the jutty-outy ledges, because you can't survive the fall otherwise. You need to make some very careful, very precise jumps to get down here. But once you have jumped down the first 2 segments, you'll finally be on the bottom platform of the structure. And down here, you can grab an epic dagger. There's Sincadia, I think that's how you pronounce it, which doesn't look like much at first, but it has the quick step skill and also raises the potency of bestial incantations. So if you've been progressing Gurank's questline and getting all the death root, this dagger will make all of his spells a lot stronger. And then just before we're done here, a little bit further along this platform, you'll get the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman. So now we'll teleport back and I'll meet you in the next tip. I'm going to mark a point on the map here that we are currently going to aim for, and then you want to teleport yourself to the Church of the Plague and start heading northeast where I'm going now. As you make your way up the mountain, you'll come to a glintstone sorcerer, quite a powerful one at that. When you've taken him out, you can grab some beast blood, And now I'm going to go into my inventory and check a note that we purchased a while ago. There is a hidden cave in the town of Sellia. Look beyond the graveyard at the precipice. We are at the graveyard at the precipice. So I'm going to start banging walls till I find it and then show you exactly where it is. Hey, here it is. Woo, we found it. And you can see where that glintstone sorcerer was. It is directly northeast of the big headstone that he was stood in front of. And we are now in the Sellia Hideaway. I'm going to take you through a very small section of this hideaway as we're wrapping up the video, but I'll take you through it fully in Sorceress Sellen's questline video, which will be coming up next. So please make sure you stay tuned for that one. As I say, I'm not going to show you the full cave in this video, but apart from the section of the cave that is sealed off as part of Sellen's questline, and the boss, which we'll also be covering in Sellen's questline, there really is nothing of note. So just explore the cave at your leisure. I assure you there's no missable items in this section of the cave. Nothing of note anyway. You've got some very low level smithing stones, some very low level golden runes, and I believe there's a lost ashes of war at some point. But by now, if you do use them, you've probably got loads of them. The only important bit is right at the end here. After we defeat this sorcerer, you'll see a seal, and if you go up and interact with it, it will say the seal can only be broken by a seal breaker. I now go back and have a conversation with Sorceress Sellen, but I'm going to skip out that section in this video so we can go through it together during Sorceress Sellen's NPC questline guide. So for now, all I have to say is thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.